I'm Mike Swinton, Director of Economic Development for Spire, Alabama, and the 2021 Vice Chair of Governmental Affairs for the Shelby County Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Commerce and close to 1,200 investor organizations, I welcome you to this Candidates Forum for those individuals seeking the Republican nomination for Senate District 14. We're pleased to co-host this program with Shelby County newspapers and hope you find this program interesting and informative, and we're glad that you're with us. Before we begin, let me express our thanks to each of the candidates who were invited to participate in this virtual forum and for their willingness to put themselves before the voters of Senate District 14. Their respective decisions to seek their party's nomination is a true testament to their desire to serve the district and the state of Alabama. Now let me explain our format for this program. Each candidate will be asked the same questions and given 2 minutes to respond. The candidate who responds first will be determined by rotating alphabetically. None of the candidates have been provided with the questions prior to this event. In the interest of time, there will be no opening statements. There will, however, be the opportunity for each candidate to provide a closing statement lasting no longer than 3 minutes. A chamber staffer will act as a timekeeper and provide each of the candidates with a countdown during their comments by holding up a card indicating the time remaining. Kirk Manser, President and CEO with the Chamber, will pose the questions to the candidates. Now let's begin with our first question.
Thank you, Mike. As Mike mentioned, all of the candidates seeking the Republican nomination for the 14th Senate District were invited to participate. We are very appreciative of the 2 candidates who were able to join us for this virtual forum. So let's go ahead and begin. And our first question will begin with Mr. Barlow. Mr. Barlow, why do you want to be the Republican nominee for the special 14th Senate District election?
That's a great question. I think it's important that the candidate is willing to fight for the people. If 2020 taught us anything, I feel like it's that the people's voices really weren't heard or they felt small, especially with COVID. I decided to run for state senate in order to be that voice for the people, to hear the concerns and attempt to resolve issues that our state faces. One of the top issues from speaking with people is that they don't feel like their voices are heard. And so when I announced and I wanted to run, it's because I felt like my voice wasn't being heard. And so I want to be able to be that Republican nominee to move forward in the July election and the general election and be the people's voice.
Thank you. Ms. Strong, same question to you. Why do you want to be the Republican nominee for the special 14th Senate District election?
I have been an educator for 32 years, and I have loved every minute of it. But we have some serious problems in Alabama in terms of our public education system. We are misappropriating some funds. We are not putting the focus on the children as much as we need to be. We need to be focusing more on elementary education. And unfortunately, in the state of Alabama, our state code prohibits educators from serving in the House or the Senate. Most people don't know this. So that means we really don't have a lot of experienced educators as voices at the legislative tables in Montgomery, unfortunately. So I'm hoping to change that. I want to bring my 32 years of public education experience to Montgomery to help make those decisions, to help inform the legislators that are down there of what our public schools really need. We have some very serious inequity in our public school systems. We've got great school systems with all the money they could possibly want. We've got school systems that are really suffering where kids don't have access to computers. They may not have a school nurse. They may not have a resource officer. They may not have broadband access. And we've got to solve some of these problems. We rank low in the polls nationally in just about every education respect. And that can change if we've got the right voices in Montgomery to make some of those crucial education decisions. So that drives me to run for this office.
Thank you. And now moving on to our second question, Ms. Strong, we'll begin with you. What, in your opinion, are the priorities and responsibilities of an Alabama state senator?
I think the number one responsibility is to represent the people in your district. That's what you're hired to do. You're their voice. You are to interact with them. You're to meet with them. You are serving them. You're a servant. And you represent them. And they've got many and varied needs. You know, we have in our community here in District 14, we've got lots of great businesses. We've got families. We've got great schools. We've got needy schools. We've got a lot of great healthcare facilities, but we've got some rural areas in District 14 that really need more in terms of their healthcare facilities. We've got great resources for our first responders, but again, we've got communities where they still have great needs. So my job as a voice in Montgomery, as a senator, is going to be to speak for the people in my district, to represent them, to make sure their needs are met as much as possible, to make sure their voice is heard, to interact with them. And, you know, not only them, but I'm looking out for the whole state of Alabama. Alabama's important to me. I've been in Alabama almost all my life, and can't think of any better place to live or to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barlow, same question to you. What, in your opinion, are the priorities and responsibilities of an Alabama state senator?
It's a great question, and I think it's a kind of a simple answer. The top priority and responsibility is to be the voice for the people and to represent the people in their best interest. As a senator for my district, my duty is not only to introduce and vote on legislation, but it's also to hear the concerns of the people on those issues that our state faces. I would never vote or introduce any kind of legislation that would negatively impact our district or state, kind of like the gas tax. I find it important that we communicate and have those lines of communication open. And that is to me, that is the top priority and responsibility, not only to be the voice and to represent the best interests of the people, but to also communicate it in all means, in any way, to be there for them.
Thank you. Now for our third question, Mr. Barlow, we'll begin with you. If you're elected, what specific skills or strengths do you possess which you believe will benefit Senate District 14?
That's another great question. I currently work as a paralegal, so I know and understand how important it is to communicate and to fight for individuals. As a paralegal, I'm always communicating with clients, working behind the scenes to advocate for their best interest. Through legislation and economic development, I can advocate for our districts and advocate for our people in the district. Now, I also have a bachelor's in criminal justice and a master's in forensic psychology. And so I believe with that too, I can help fix our issue concerning prison overcrowding and try to reform our criminal justice system, as well as help create legislation to protect our officers and to create more funding for first responders, police officers. They put a lot of their lives on the line each and every day, and it's important that we do the same for them. We give them the resources they need, body cameras, funding for education. You know, counties are growing, and you know, Alabaster is growing, Calera is growing, and so it's important that we create funding for that reason. And I believe that as a paralegal and with my education, I can bring great advocacy for our district.
Thank you. And now, Ms. Strong, same question to you. If you're elected, what specific skills or strengths do you possess which you believe will benefit Senate District 14?
I think my education experience, being a public school educator for 32 years, is certainly going to be a big plus for me. Like I said, we prohibit educators from serving in the House and Senate. I would be retiring from my job, or actually I couldn't retire from my job as an educator because I would still be working for the state. But I would leave a job that I dearly love because I think it's important that we get the education voices in Montgomery. So I think that sets me apart in a lot of ways from many candidates currently seeking office. I also am a mother of 3 children. They're very important to me. They're products of our public schools. My husband is a veteran. My father was a veteran. Military is a very strong and heartfelt subject for me. I have just, as a public educator, always had a servant's heart. I've done volunteer work. I've grew up as a 4-H kid. Always been in 4-H, been a 4-H volunteer. I know that's something that's important in a lot of our rural communities. And I'm just a Shelby County girl. My family's from Shelby County. I'll be working with the members of Bibb County and some areas of Chilton County as well. And I'm a smart person. I'm a fast learner. I'm not a politician. I don't have a politician's background, but I'm a fast learner, and I'm really eager to do this job.
And Ms. Strong, for question 4, we'll start with you. What are 3 specific things you hope to accomplish if you are elected as the next state senator from the 14th Senate District in this special election?
Well, that's a good question. There are a lot of things I'd love to accomplish. One thing that I would like to see in reference to some of my education hopes and dreams for our state is I would like for us to see invest much more in our elementary education. As a high school teacher, I teach 16-year-old students who cannot use a ruler, who cannot solve a simple algebra equation, who cannot address an envelope, who cannot write a grammatically correct sentence. And I know a big part of that is that we have busy families and they're obsessed with social media, but we've got to invest more in elementary education. We've got to invest more in a lower student-to-teacher ratio. We've got 2nd and 3rd and 4th grade teachers with 25 to 30 kids in a classroom. Kids need individual attention from their teacher. So that's number 1. I would like for us to grow our mental health services in our schools and in our communities. We live in very stressful times, and this past year has certainly not been helpful in any way in that area. I think we've really got to research that. And I am also very strongly adamant that we've got to support small businesses. A lot of small businesses fail. There are a lot of tax burdens on small businesses. There are a lot of licensing fees that I think we can reduce when it comes to making small businesses prosper and encourage more people to invest in that.
Thank you. Mr. Barlow, same question to you. What are 3 specific things that you hope to accomplish if you're elected as the next state senator from the 14th Senate District in this special election?
We have a lot of issues facing our state, but I think the 3 most important to begin with is COVID. We've got, it's changed our lives in many different ways, but we've got to make sure that we roll out the vaccines to the people that want them. And I know counties such as Shelby are fighting or kind of arguing to get more vaccines to be able to give it to the people. The only way that we can get COVID under control is to allow the people to be able to get the vaccines. And so we've got to do better at that. Another one is education. We rank almost last in education. So it's important that we establish funding and that we establish funding and we support our school systems, our teachers, and our administrators. Or due to COVID, many people have struggled to access remote learning. And so that's been a real issue. And so we have to try to fix that as well. Now, another really important issue, and I hope that the contract's not signed by July, is the prison in Briarfield. There are several reasons as to why the prison should not be in Briarfield. But when it comes down to it, the 30-year, 1-year renewal lease puts all the playing cards into the private prison's hands. And so we're going to face a lot of issues from that. We're also going to face environmental and economic impact as well. There are a lot of unknowns with the prison, and that's a scary part of it. But we have got to make sure that we are vocal on all of these issues and many more.
Thank you. Now for question 5, Mr. Barlow, we'll start with you. If you're elected, how and when will you be accessible to your constituents?
at all times. I think it's important to be accessible and be open to communication, because we can't fix all the issues on our own, and it has to be a team effort. So I am willing to be accessible at any point. I've been giving out my cell phone number to people so that they can call me. And I know we're just in the race right now, but I find it important that I open that venue up so that people know that I am there to listen to them. Whether it be a Zoom call, getting coffee, text message, phone call, email, I don't care what kind of communication we want to open. I find it very important that we do have that. And in order for me to represent the district, I have to be accessible to you, and I promise to be at all times open to listening and talking with you.
Thank you. And Ms. Strong, same question. If you are elected, how and when will you be accessible to your constituents?
One of the benefits of electing Donna Strong as your next senator is that I won't also have a job as a nurse or a businessman or a lawyer or a law enforcement officer. As an educator, I will be leaving my job because our state code mandates that. So I'm going to be a full-time legislator for the people of State District 14. My kids are grown. They've all graduated from high school. My husband has retired. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I want to commit my time to. I've got lots of ideas for Shelby, Chilton, and Bibb County. I have run for office before. I have just enjoyed all the time I have spent meeting people and going to events. And that's what I just see myself doing. That's going to be my full-time job, is serving as your senator. And I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for question 6. Please fill in the blank. If elected state senator in June, my first piece of legislation which I will introduce as state senator for the 14th district will be blank. And then please share with us why this legislation is so important.
I've already alluded to this, but probably my first piece of legislation as state senator is going to be addressing student-teacher ratios in the classroom. Right now, we have guidelines and suggestions. They're not mandates. And so schools do what they can, I'm sure, to keep those numbers down, but there are lots of other priorities in terms of their budget. Every educator will tell you that that is the number one thing that's going to be the most important in helping kids learn, is to give teachers time to interact with students. Teachers are extremely busy with mounds of paperwork, surveys to do, lesson plans to do, test to grade, standardized testing. We need to get back to classroom teachers working with the students, and I doubt there are very many parents that would disagree with that. Parents know the teacher-student relationship is extremely important. It's probably the next most important from the parent, because that's where the child is going to spend a lot of time. So we need for teachers to get to know those students, to educate them, to know what their needs are, to help address their social, their emotional, their mental wellness, all the things that parents need assistance with, all the things that teachers want. The reason teachers became teachers. Teachers did not become classroom teachers for the money or the rewards or the bonuses. Teachers become educators because they love students and they want to help students learn. They want to help students grow. They want to help them succeed, and they want to help them become productive citizens, successful adults, future moms and dads, maybe a future teacher. So they've got to have the time to interact with kids, and that's going to come from lowering the student-teacher ratio.
Thank you. Mr. Barlow, same question to you. If elected state senator, my first piece of legislation which I will introduce as state senator for the 14th district will be fill in the blank, and then please share with us why this legislation is so important.
Wow, that's a really, really great question. We have several issues facing our state, but I think it's important that, and I touched on it a little earlier, that we make sure that we take care of those that protect us and watch over us. And so I would want to create legislation for our first responders and our officers. Like I said earlier, we've got to make sure they have the funds available because we do have counties and cities that are growing. And so in order for them to be able to keep up with the demand, we've got to make sure they're funded. We have to make sure that they have the body cameras they need, that they have the education, the continuing education. That's really, really important because, like I said earlier, they put their lives on the line for us, and we should be advocating to protect them and help them in any way possible.
Thank you. Now for question 7, Mr. Barlow, we'll begin with you. How will you, as the state senator for District 14, work with other members of the legislative delegation to address the needs and wants of your constituents?
Ooh, that's a really great question. I have tons of ideas and tons of ways we can fix issues like criminal justice reform. And of course, it's important that I talk with the district and the people within the district to see if we're all on the same page. But it's important to build relationships in the legislative branch so that we all can come together. And as I stated earlier, I won't have one solution to fix everything. It takes all of us coming together to find that solution. So it's important to build relationships and build trust in order to get things accomplished that better our state. Because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are bettering not only District 14, but the state of Alabama as well.
Thank you. Ms. Strong, same question to you. How will you, as state senator for District 14, work with other members of the legislative delegation to address the needs and wants of your constituents?
Well, I think as legislators, we should always work as a team. We've each got our district that we represent, the people in our communities that we've been elected to serve, but we are all also working hard for the state of Alabama, for its economy, for its citizens, for its schools, for its prison systems, for its agricultural services, for its businesses. So it's imperative that all members of the House and the Senate work together. We should be on great friendly terms with each other. We should be meeting with each other when we can outside of the required legislative times together. I mean, we should be a team. Teamwork builds strength. It builds strength in our legislatures. It builds strength in our communities. It builds strength in our schools, in our businesses. So I'm looking forward to working with Russell Bedsole, from the person who is elected from the House District 73, and all the other educators and legislators and community leaders, chambers of commerce, pastors, all the leaders in our different communities. It's going to take all of us working as a team.
Thank you. Next question, Ms. Strong, we'll begin with you. How would you describe the 14th Senate District when asked by someone wanting to start or expand a business in the district?
I would describe District 14 as a very diverse district. We've got areas of Shelby County bordering Birmingham, Hoover, that are very business oriented, have certain family median incomes, certain job availabilities in areas of Shelby County that we don't have in some extremely rural areas of Bibb County, some areas of Chilton County. So I think that this district is extremely important because it sits right between Birmingham and Montgomery and Tuscaloosa, all our major urban areas. We've got the potential for growth is just amazing for our district. And I would encourage business-minded citizens to seek out areas in Bibb County, in Chilton County, and other parts of Shelby County and see where the needs are. Talk to other business leaders in those communities. Talk to people in their churches about what the needs are in each community. But we've got some great diversity. We've got great opportunities. Our location is just second to none in terms of the accessibility to those major urban areas in Montgomery, Tuscaloosa, and Birmingham. You know, the access for I-65 is great. Our roadways improve every day. I know legislators are working on the broadband situation to reach out to some of those more rural areas. And as we get that, 5G and broadband access going, that's certainly going to make it much easier for businesses to reach out in some of those more rural areas.
Thank you. And Mr. Barlow, same question to you. How would you describe the 14th Senate District when asked by someone wanting to start or expand a business in the district?
District 14 is very unique. We have several cities and it's growing. And each city is ready for any kind of business expansion. We have Alabaster, which is growing business-wise and residential. We have Calera. Calera is actually ranked in the top 10 fastest growing cities in Alabama. Calera has the land behind Publix, which is ready for development. We've got the Calera Main Street. We've got Montevallo with the University of Montevallo located right there. We've got downtown Montevallo. And then when you go to Helena, you've got growing residential and businesses. And then Bibb County and Chilton County, they're a little different. They've got the natural resources and the land to be able to put industry and manufacturers out there, or any business really. So when you look at District 14, it's all unique and it has ample opportunity for businesses, whether it be a small business or a large business or retail or, like Alabaster's Promenade. We've got the land, we've got the resources, and we've got the people to support it. So District 14, I'll say this, like I said before, is very unique and it is worth investing in.
Thank you. And now for our final question in the Q&A portion of the forum, Mr. Barlow, we'll begin with you. Why should the voters in this Republican primary election vote for you to be the party's nominee?
Well, the ballot will have 3 candidates, 2 more along with me, and I know it'll be a very difficult decision. But I can promise you that if elected, I'll be transparent, accessible to communicate with you any way that you feel comfortable. And I will strive to represent you in the best interest of the district as well. In order for me to be a voice in Montgomery, I must be able to communicate with everybody. And so that's one thing I really want to hit hard on, is that if elected, I want to be that person to do that. We've got, like I said, we have many issues facing our state, and we have to come together to fix these issues. We need a strong Republican nominee that can better our district, our state, and as well as face the Democratic nominee in July. With all of this in mind, I truly believe that I can be your voice and I can win in July. With your help, I believe that we can restore faith in our political system, restore Alabama to better than we've known, and really put District 14 on the map.
Thank you. And Ms. Strong, same question to you. Why should the voters in this Republican primary election vote for you to be the party's nominee?
We need change in all areas of politics. We need change occasionally in our local politics. We need change in our state politics. We need change in our federal and national politics. I do believe in term limits. I need for the people to know this is not something I plan to do until I can't hardly walk anymore. This is a mission for me to take my life experiences and do what I can while I can to benefit the people of Alabama, the teachers, the students, the parents, all the members of my district and my state. It's not something that I've sought to do my entire life. It's not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to go and make change, and I think change is important. I also believe that I bring a lot to the table in terms of just good interpersonal skills, good communication skills, things that I've picked up in my 32-year career that I think will lead me to do this job well, to communicate with people well, to be a voice that can help others see different needs in our community that they may not be aware of. And I'm a hard worker. I've got a servant's heart. I love my family. I love my community. I love my state. And I want to do what I can to make us all that we can be. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the Q&A portion of our virtual forum. We'll now move into the closing comments, and the sequence for those comments were determined prior to the forum beginning, and the order will be Mr. Barlow going first. So Mr. Barlow, please share your closing comments.
First, I would like to begin by thanking the Shelby County Chamber as well as Shelby County newspapers for hosting this. It's a great honor that they did this so that people could hear us, especially with COVID, because people were weird about that right now. So I want to thank them for allowing me to speak and for taking the time to do this. A little bit about me, and I touched on it a little earlier. I graduated from UAB with a bachelor's in criminal justice. I then followed and graduated with a master's from Liberty University. My wife and I live in Calera. We love the city of Calera and the surrounding areas. I've worked as a paralegal for several years, so I understand how important communication is and how to advocate and fight for individuals. My father is a U.S. steelworker, so I completely understand how important industrial and manufacturing jobs are. As someone who has been frustrated, especially during COVID, with politics in general, I understand the frustration that you have as well. On March 30th, the primary election will take place, and I would be honored to be your vote and to be your voice and for your confidence going into July. I believe that together we can work on bettering our communities, our district, and our state. Just make sure that you make your voice be heard on March 30th. It is an important race. It holds a lot of bearing to our state, and your voice will be heard on March 30th. I want to end by, thanking again for allowing this to happen. Thank you for watching. May God bless you, your family, this district, this state, and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Strong, please share your closing comments.
Hi, I appreciate you letting me speak to you. This has been a great opportunity to reach many voices in District 14. I'm Donna Strong, and I'm hoping for your vote on March the 30th to be the senator for Shelby, Chilton, and Bibb counties. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my background. I am from Shelby County. I'm from Chelsea. I'm currently living in Alabaster. My children are about to turn 19, 21, and 23 this summer. I've been married for 25 years to my husband, Russell Strong, who is also an educator, and he retired as a chief in the Navy. We love this area. We're very passionate about this area and its people. I grew up in Chelsea, and my passion as a kid was 4-H. I was a 4-H girl. That kind of led me to go to Auburn University, where I majored in animal sciences and then decided to become a science teacher. So I went on and got my master's degree at Auburn and became a school teacher and got very passionate about what I did and the opportunities that we have to educate kids. And so I left teaching and went to Penn State University and received my PhD in curriculum and instruction so that I could do more in terms of being a teacher leader in our schools. And I've been trying to do what I can for students and schools and my fellow colleague teachers for the past 32 years. But now it's time for me to move on and do something different for education. I mentioned several things in the questions about the needs we have in schools. We also are unfortunately facing a teacher shortage in Alabama. And we are in a profession where a lot of people want to work with children, they're passionate about their subject and their topic and educating, but they get into the profession and statistically, more than half of all classroom teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years. They've gone to college for this reason, and the demands are so overwhelming, they leave the career in the first 5 years. This is a problem. It's a problem on many levels. It's a problem that we can do a lot for. I want to work for our schools, our communities. I want to see better health care in our schools for our students, for our teachers, for our families. I'm passionate about our environment. I'm passionate about animals. I'm passionate about protecting elderly people. I'm passionate about protecting children. And I'm passionate to work for the citizens of Alabama as your next senator. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I'll turn it back over to Mike Swinson with Spire of Alabama and also the Chamber's Vice Chair of Governmental Affairs. Mike?
This concludes our forum. Thanks again to the candidates seeking the Republican nomination for Senate District 14 who took the time to join us for this virtual forum and for their willingness to share their thoughts and vision with our audience. Thanks also to our collaborative partners at Shelby County Newspapers. Finally, and most importantly, thanks to each of you for taking the time to view this video and be an informed voter. We encourage Republican voters in the Senate District 14 to vote in the Republican primary election scheduled for Tuesday, March the 30th. We are adjourned.